The rain hammered against Marcus Chen's truck windshield like 1,000 angry fists, each drop a reminder of how far he had fallen. His 7-year-old daughter, Emma, slept fitfully in the back seat, her small body wrapped in the only blanket they had left, a faded Marine Corps issue that had once represented his pride, his purpose, his identity. Now it was just fabric keeping his child warm as they sat in a grocery store parking lot at 2 in the morning with nowhere else to go. Marcus pressed his forehead against the steering wheel, his calloused hands trembling. 3 months ago, he'd had a home, a small landscaping business he'd built from nothing after returning from deployment, and hope. Then the medical bills from Emma's emergency surgery had avalanched. The business clients who understood suddenly found other contractors. The bank had been sympathetic until sympathy ran out, and his ex-wife Emma's mother had made it clear she wanted nothing to do with either of them anymore. He was a Marine. He'd survived 2 tours in Afghanistan. He'd led men through firefights and brought them home. But he couldn't figure out how to survive this. The knock on his window made him jolt upright, his combat instincts flaring. Through the rain-streaked glass, he saw a woman's face, younger than him, maybe mid-30s, with kind eyes that seemed to see straight through his carefully constructed facade of being fine. "Sir," her voice was muffled but clear, "are you okay? You've been here for hours." Marcus quickly wiped his eyes and rolled down the window an inch. "We're fine. Just resting before we head out." The woman glanced at the back seat where Emma stirred, then back at Marcus. She didn't have the judgmental look he'd gotten used to from strangers who saw a grown man living in his truck. Instead, she looked genuinely concerned. "I'm Victoria Ashford," she said. "I own the tech company in the building across the street. I was working late and saw your truck. This storm is only getting worse and the temperature's dropping." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I have a warm office with a couch, coffee, and a bathroom. No strings attached. Just a safe place to wait out this weather." Marcus wanted to refuse. Pride was sometimes all he had left. But then Emma coughed. That wet, rattling cough that had been getting worse. And he thought about the heater in his truck that was on its last legs. "Just until the storm passes," he heard himself say. 20 minutes later, Marcus and Emma were in the sleek lobby of Ashford Technologies, water dripping onto expensive marble floors. Victoria appeared with towels and, to Marcus's surprise, 2 young girls around Emma's age. "This is Sophie and Lily, my daughters," Victoria explained as the girls immediately gravitated toward Emma with the easy friendliness of children. "They're used to late nights at the office with Mom." While the girls talked and shared a tablet in the corner, Victoria brought Marcus coffee and sat across from him. She didn't pry, didn't ask questions he wasn't ready to answer. Instead, she talked about her own story, how she'd started her company with nothing but a laptop and determination after her divorce, how she'd nearly lost everything during the first year, how strangers had helped her when she needed it most. "I learned something important," Victoria said, softly. "Rock bottom isn't where you end. It's where you build from." The words cracked something in Marcus's chest. Before he could stop himself, the whole story spilled out. The deployment, the invisible wounds he'd brought home, building his business from scratch. Emma's sudden appendicitis and the surgery that saved her life but destroyed his finances. The eviction notice, the truck that was now their home, the job applications that went unanswered when potential employers saw the gap in his resume and the address that was just a P.O. box. "I'm a Marine," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to protect her. And I can't even give my daughter a roof over her head." Victoria leaned forward. "Marcus, the strongest thing a parent can do is keep going when everything says to quit. You're here. Emma's safe because you're fighting for her." That's strength. Over the next hour, as the storm raged outside, Victoria made phone calls. She contacted a property manager she knew who had a vacant apartment. She called a friend who ran a veterans advocacy organization. She texted her company's HR director about a facilities coordinator position that had just opened, something Marcus's landscaping and project management experience qualified him for. When Marcus tried to protest, tried to say it was too much, Victoria cut him off. "My daughters are watching," she said simply. "I want them to see that when someone needs help, you help. No calculations, no conditions, just humanity." Sophie and Lily had fallen asleep next to Emma by the time the storm began to clear. Victoria had already arranged for the apartment, first month free, utilities included, and scheduled Marcus's interview for the next morning. "Why?" Marcus finally asked, tears streaming down his face. "You don't know me. Why would you do all this? Victoria smiled, but her eyes were distant, remembering. "5 years ago, I was sleeping in my car with my girls. A stranger gave me a chance when no one else would. He told me to pay it forward when I could." She looked at Marcus directly. "Now I can, and one day when you can, you will too." The interview the next morning was brief. Marcus's military background, his business experience, and Victoria's recommendations secured the position. The apartment was small but clean, with 2 bedrooms and windows that let in actual sunlight. Emma cried when she saw her own room, and Marcus had to step into the bathroom to compose himself. 6 months later, Marcus had been promoted to facilities manager. He'd reconnected with other veterans through the organization Victoria had introduced him to, and he was volunteering to help transition homeless veterans into housing. Emma was thriving in school, her cough long gone, her smile constant. But the most important change was the lesson Marcus carried with him every day. Victoria had shown him that strength wasn't just about surviving. It was about maintaining your humanity when everything tried to strip it away. It was about seeing someone in need and acting, not because you had to, but because you could. On the anniversary of that stormy night, Marcus and Emma visited Victoria's office. Emma had made cards for Sophie and Lily, and Marcus brought something else, a framed photo of the 4 of them from a company family day, along with a donation check to Victoria's newly established foundation for homeless families. "This foundation," Marcus said, his voice steady now, "is going to help so many people. And it exists because you saw someone who needed help and you acted." Victoria hugged him, then knelt down to Emma's level. "Your dad's a hero, sweetheart. Not just because he served our country, but because even when things were hardest, he never gave up on you." Emma beamed and hugged her dad's leg. "He's the best daddy in the world." As they left the office that day, Marcus held Emma's hand and thought about the truck they no longer lived in, the apartment that was now a home, and the stranger who had become family. He thought about paying it forward, about being the person who sees someone struggling and chooses to help. Rock bottom, he realized, truly wasn't the end. Sometimes it was where you met the people who helped you build something better than you ever imagined.